7th Standard History, Volume 2 or Term 2, under that Vijayanagar and Bahmani Kingdoms. This is lesson number 1 from History. In this lesson, we are going to see the circumstances that led to the rise and expansion of Vijayanagar and Bahmani Kingdoms, and to know about the contribution of Vijayanagar and Bahmani rulers to literature, art, and architecture. In the south, there were the two great kingdoms, that is Vijayanagar and Bahmani kingdoms. The Bahmani kingdom spread all over the Maharashtra, now what we used to call as Mumbai, and partly over Karnataka. It ruled by 18 monarchs and it lasted for nearly 180 years. Nearly in the 16th century, it collapsed and split into 5 sultanates. After 180 years, the kingdom splitted into 5 sultanates. That is Bijapur, Ahmednagar, Golconda, Bidar, and Berar. Under the two kingdoms, that is Vijayanagar and Bahmani kingdoms, first we'll see about the foundation of Vijayanagar Empire. Vijayanagara, it means the city of victory. It was established in southern Karnataka by two brothers named Harihara and Bukka. The new kingdom was called Vidyanagara for a time in honor of the spiritual teacher Vidyaranya. On behalf of the honorable teacher Vidyaranya, the kingdom was called as Vidyanagara before it came to be called as Vijayanagara. 4 dynasties, namely Sangama, Saluva, Tuluva, and Aravidi dynasties were famous in the Vijayanagar kingdom. The first two brothers, Harihara and Bukka of the Sangama dynasty, protected the new kingdom from the superior forces of the Bahmani Sultanate. Now, end of the Sangama dynasty. When the king Bukka died, he had left behind a large territory to his son Harihara II. Harihara's grandson Devaraya II was a great ruler of Sangama dynasty. He began to practice Muslim fighters to serve him and to train him in the new methods of warfare. Due to that, the Muslim fighters, the Sangama dynasty came to be an end. Next to the Sangama dynasty, now about rise of Saluva dynasty. Sangama dynasty last ruler was Virbaksharaya II. He was defeated by the Saluva dynasty ruler Narasimha. So, Saluva dynasty ruler Narasimha defeated Virbaksharaya II of the Sangama dynasty, and Narasimha became the king of the Saluva dynasty. Next to the Saluva dynasty, Tuluva dynasty. Tuluva dynasty ruler Krishnadevaraya was a famous king. He ruled for 20 years and he wanted to control all the independent chieftains. After succeeding his effort, his main target was Gulbarga rulers, that is Bahmani sultans. One of the Bahmani Sultan, Muhammad Shah, was overthrown and kept imprisoned by his minister, by Krishnadevaraya's minister. Now Krishnadevaraya freed the Sultan, that is Muhammad Shah, and restored him to throne. Krishnadevaraya, with the assistance of the Portuguese gunners, that is gun shooters, could easily defeat the Sultan of Golconda and later take over Raichur from the ruler of Bijapur. Krishnadevaraya was a great builder. Why he was called as great builder? Because he built huge irrigation tanks and reservoirs for harvesting rainwater. He built the famous temples of Krishnasamy, Hazara Ramasamy, and Vitlasamy. He distributed the wealth to the temples for the purpose of constructing temple gateways, that is gopuras or gopurams, called Raya Gopurams. In his honor, he recruited a large army and built many strong forts. He imported large number of horses from Arabia and Iran. Horses which came by in ships to Vijayanagar ports of the west coast. He had good friendly relationship with Portuguese and Arabian traders. Due to that, he increased the empire's income through customs. Patron of literature, art and architecture. That is Krishnadevaraya patronized art and literature. 8 famous scholars in literature was known as Ashtadigajas. Alsani Pettana and Tennali Rama were the great notable figure in his court. Battle of Talikota and the decline of Vijayanagar Empire. After Krishnadevaraya, succeeded by his younger brother Achyutadevaraya, Venkatavan, Sadasivaraya, all were not efficient rulers. And also, they had the misunderstanding with the Deccan kingdoms. The combined forces of the enemies met at Talikota in 1565. In the battle, Vijayanagar was defeated. Finally, all the buildings, palaces, and temples were destroyed. The beautiful carvings and sculptures were damaged. The glorious Vijayanagar Empire fell down. Vijayanagar administration. Vijayanagar administration, that is, kingship was hereditary. The empire was divided into different mandalams, that is, provinces or state. States are divided into nadus, that is, district. Districts are divided into stalas, that is, taluks. And taluks are divided into gramas, that is, villages. Each province was administered by the governor called Mandaleshwara. That is, governor who was called as Mandaleshwara. The lowest unit of administration was the village. Last unit was village. Each village had Grama Sabha. Gauda, village headman. Grama Sabha's headman was Gauda. He looked after the affairs of the village. Now, army. In the army, infantry, cavalry, and elephant corps were there. The army was modernized and Vijayanagar army began using firearms. Firearms, it means guns. Vijayanagar army used guns. The combination of firearms and cavalry made them one of the most feared armies in India. Cavalry, it means horse forces. So horse forces and guns were the most feared armies in India in the Vijayanagar Empire. Economic condition of the Vijayanagar Empire. Vijayanagar Empire was one of the richest states then known to the world. The emperors issued a large number of gold coins called varahas. Now, agriculture. The rulers encouraged agriculture in different parts of the empire. There were wealthy landholders and temples that invested in irrigation to promote agriculture. Abdur Razak, the visiting Persian ambassador to Krishnadevaraya's court, records the huge tank built with the help of the Portuguese nations. So, Persian ambassador Abdur Razak said that a huge tank was built in the Vijayanagar Empire with the help of the Portuguese masons. Channels were constructed to supply water from the tank to different parts of the city. The city was well stocked with a variety of agricultural goods. Cottage industries. Vijayanagar's agricultural production was supplemented by numerous cottage scale industries. The most important of them were textile, mining, and metallurgy. Trade. During the Vijayanagar Empire, inland, coastal, and overseas trade flourished in goods such as silks from China, spices from Malabar regions, and precious stones from Burma. In the Vijayanagar Empire, the silks, the Vijayanagar Empire got silks from China, spices from the Malabar region, and precious stones from the Burma, that is Myanmar. Vijayanagar traded with Persia, South Africa, Portugal, Arabia, China, Southeast Asia, and Sri Lanka. Contribution to literature. The different books were written in different languages such as Sanskrit, Telugu, Kannada, and Tamil. Krishnadevaraya wrote Amukta Malyata. It is an epic in Telugu and also like Sanskrit drama Jambavadi Kalyanam. Tennali Ramakrishna authored Banduranga Mahatyam. Tennali Ramakrishna wrote Banduranga Mahatyam is the name of the book which was written by Tennali Rama. Scholars like Srinada, Pottanna, Jakkamma, and Dukkanna were the scholars translated Sanskrit and Prakrit works into Telugu. Sanskrit and Prakrit is the name of the languages. This like Srinada, Pottanna, Jakkamma, and Dukkanna were the scholars. They translated their works into Telugu. Contribution to architecture. The temple building activity of the Vijayanagar rulers produced a new style which was called as Vijayanagara style. Horse was the most common animal to be drawn on the pillars. The structures have mandapam, that is open hall, with a raised platforms. Generally, it is meant for seating the deity on special occasions. These temples also have a marriage hall with carved pillars. So, in the open hall, they used as the marriage hall with the carved pillars. Now we'll see about the Bahmani Kingdom. Foundation and consolidation of the Bahmani Kingdom. Alauddin Hassan, also known as Hassan Gangu. He seized Dawladabad and declared himself as Sultan under the title of Bahman Shah in 1347. So Hassan Gangu was the first ruler of the Bahmani kingdoms in 1347. There were 18 monarchs of the Bahmani dynasty. Alauddin Hassan Bahman Shah ruled for 11 years. He divided the kingdom into 4 territorial divisions which were called as Tarafs. Tarafs, Tarafs. A governor was appointed for each provinces. It means like state. He commanded an army, was fully responsible for its administration. So in the Bahmani kingdoms, army was the full responsible for the administration and for the collection of revenue. Now next ruler under Bahmani kingdom was Muhammad Shah I. Muhammad Shah I succeeded Bahman Shah. He waged 2 wars with Vijayanagar but could not gain from it. But his attack on Warangal in 1363 earned him a large property and wealth, including the important fortress of Golconda. Muhammad Shah laid a solid foundation for the kingdom. His system of government continued even after Bahmani kingdom disintegrated in 5 sultanates. He built mosques at Gulbarga. A large number of Arabs, Turks, and notably Persians began to immigrate to the Deccan, many of them at the invitation of Sultan Muhammad I. Successor of Muhammad Shah I, Mujahid. He was the son of Muhammad Shah, ascended the throne. However, on his return to Gulbarga from the expedition against Vijayanagar, he was assassinated. There were constant wars between the Bahmani and Vijayanagar rulers over the fertile Tungabhadra Krishna region. Now Muhammad Shah III reigned for 19 years, that is ruled for 19 years. For most of these years, The lieutenant of the kingdom was Mahmud Gawan, the most notable personality of the time. So, under the Muhammad Shah III, Mahmud Gawan, he was the lieutenant of the kingdom. He worked under the Muhammad Shah III. Mahmud Gawan. He was a Persian man. He was well versed in Islamic theory, Persian, and Max. He was also a poet and prose writer. Gawan was known for his military campaigns as well as administrative reforms. He used Persian chemists to teach the Bahmani army about the preparation and use of gunpowder. In his war against the Vijayanagar kings in Belgaum, he used gunpowder. Gawan divided the existing 4 provinces of the Bahmani Sultanate into 8 provinces so as to limit the area under the rule of governor and to make the provincial administration more manageable. He also placed some districts in the provinces directly under the central administration. The royal officers who were given land assignments as pay were made accountable to the Sultan for their income and expenditure. The administrative reforms introduced by Gawan improved the efficiency of the government. The Deccani nobles grew jealous of his success and considered him as an obstacle to their rise. Deccani nobles thought that is, he was considered him as the obstacle to their rise. They manipulated by forging a letter to implicate Gawan in a secret plan against the Sultan. Sultan, who himself was not happy with Gawan's dominance, ordered his execution. Gawan's execution prompted several of foreign nobles who were considered the backbone of the state to leave for their provinces. During this period, the Sultanate gradually broke up into 5 independent Deccan kingdoms: Bidar, Bijapur, Ahmednagar, Berar, and Golconda. This is the way the Bahmani kingdom declined. Contribution of Bahmani Sultans. Architecture. The contribution of Bahmani kings to architecture is evident in Gulbarga. Archaeological excavations done in the site of the kingdom has helped to unearth, that is, excavate palaces, halls of public audience, ambassadors' residence, arch, domes, walls, and forts. These finds are example of the architectural skill. Now we'll see about the education in the period of Bahmani Sultans. The founder of the Bahmani Kingdom, Alauddin Hasan Shah, was educated at Multan. He took a special care in founding a school to educate his sons. His son Muhammad I was a patron of learning. He opened an institution for the purpose of educating the children of noble families in the art of solidarity. The schools in Gulbarga, Bidar, Daulatabad, and Kandahar had boarding and lodging at the king's expenses were provided in these schools. Muhammad Gawan's world famous madrasa in Bidar with a large library containing a collection of 3,000 manuscripts, and they gave importance to scholarship provided to the students.